missed class the day before, but I'm not too sure why, but I remember sitting there quietly and just thinking to myself about things, and the teacher came in and goes, "Oh, it's so quiet. Angelina must not be here." After they released us for lunch, I went into the cafeteria and sat down at a table by myself. Nobody really cared until that teacher walked up and asked me what was wrong. I was only 6 years old though, so I don't know how I could tell her anything. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to put into words that I'm so depressed that I want to die at 6 years old. I just kind of looked at her and told her my grandpa died. Of course, she broke into tears, and then all the other teachers followed right behind her, screaming at me and telling me, "What did you do to her? What did you do to her?" I remember I was so upset because she did it to me. I'm 6 years old and she's the one that triggered this depressive episode. She's the one that sat there and said it's better if I'm not here. Either way, they picked her, they walked away with her, she went to the restroom, got cleaned up, and I just sat there with everyone staring at me. And I know that that was the moment, the first moment that I was depressed. This is where I keep my medication. As you can see, there is a lot of them. There's more throughout, but you know, it is what it is. I think this one is my sleeping medication. This one is my antidepressant.
I have a question.
Oh, okay, go ahead. You don't have to stop rolling.
Okay. So how, do you want me to do you want everything, or do you just like who I am and how long we've been friends?
Just who you are and how long we've been friends.
You can ask him questions and then...
I'm just going to ask you the same basic questions we went over. It's just from a front profile.
Okay.
So nothing's too different.
So my name is Colby Kothman. I've been friends with Angelina for 11 years. And it's been a long time.
My name is Paul. I'm a CNA at a rehab hospital. And I've known Angelina for about 8 years now.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Boozer. I've known Angelina for 7 years.
My question for you would be, when the first time, like in our friendship, did you realize that you needed to like start watching my actions and be like a little bit concerned for me?
Probably would have been our sophomore or junior year. And probably around then, because I didn't notice sometimes, like, you would disappear. We wouldn't hear from you for days, a week, maybe more. And I was like, I don't know. So it was probably around then, because it was around then that we, like, started talking more, too. Because, like, we hung out in middle school and, like, the beginning of high school, but we also still ran around with different people. And I think that's probably around when, because we had Miss Reynolds' class, and it was just, we did nothing.
Being depressed just sucks. Sometimes, dude, especially when no one really understands it, and I feel like not enough people are educated on it enough. Like, it's just, they just see it as like an easy label to just slap on, for, at an inconvenient time, like, oh, I'm depressed. But it's just like, but are you really? Or are you just kind of just saying that,
Looking back, there were probably, like, episodes we should have noticed when you weren't behaving normal for you. You were more withdrawn than normal. And knowing what I know now, I don't think I know what caused it, but there's probably probably some times that we should have all noticed more than we did.
Okay, well, my name is Belinda Valenzuela, and I am a licensed professional counselor associate. I actually have 10 years of experience. I have my bachelor's of arts in psychology, and I have my master of arts in counseling with a minor in marriage and family therapy. What I would say about depression that I think is super important is it to the layman, which means somebody who maybe hasn't worked in this field or doesn't have it. And when I say have it, I mean like going going and getting diagnosed and going to therapy and learning about it. The layman wouldn't would probably think of stereotypical symptoms, which aren't usually actually accurate. Meaning, they might assume depression is just sadness and crying all the time. They might assume certain types of people have it, but that's actually not true.
It's kind of affected our relationship in a little bit of a strange way. I always wanted to make sure she was okay no matter what. Just checking on her more often than you should. Kind of being annoying sometimes.
I've had depression pretty much since I can remember. My first depressive episode was probably around kindergarten, I want to say, if I'm remembering correctly. I had a teacher who pretty much said that she liked when I wasn't in class, and she said it in front of me, and I kind of stayed quiet for the rest of the day. And I think that's kind of the first time I was really aware of how sad I was. And to me, it was kind of normal because I didn't think anyone else felt any differently. I thought everybody was that way. I thought everybody felt that sad. So it was a real shock to me when I was in middle school and I told my friends that I felt like this, like hurting myself, like ending my life. And they told me that that wasn't normal. I was pretty shocked and decided that I needed to maybe tell somebody then if that wasn't normal. So I told the counselor got in touch with my parents put me into counseling, and I've pretty much been in and out of counseling since then, solidly through the 7th grade until my senior year of high school. Like in our high school career when we were friends, like mostly through high school, were there ever anything that like things that I would do that you kind of were like, maybe that's not normal, or like adults should start noticing this?
I mean, you would disappear for sometimes for a little while, but I mean, it wasn't like drastic. I mean, you didn't disappear for 3 months and like drop off the face of the earth, so it was all right. But you know, I guess people somewhere should have noticed, like, this isn't typical of a 16, 17-year-old to just disappear like days and then show up. Nobody knows where she's been. She doesn't know where she's been. Like, it's a little concerning.
You know, again, I just don't want people thinking that it's just sadness or that it's suicide is selfish or anything like that. There is that seemingly almost lack of caring. So, you know, with you, for example, I remember working with you when you were in high school and never told you my first impression, of course, but my first impression was this girl is jaded. But I didn't know why. Because I didn't know you yet. You were very smart, you were very intelligent, so you could always argue your point. But I guess the other thing is, you know, going back to what you should and should not say, like the selfish thing and stuff like that. If you do not know, if you want to support somebody and you do not know the right thing to say, then don't say anything at all. Meaning, just listen. But the other thing that I want to add that I think is super important that I've been trying to champion myself is I really want to destigmatize mental health, people are very afraid of labels, psychological labels. And I get it. When you're labeled with something in our culture in general, um, people who are ignorant and just don't know or not as understanding, it can lead to bullying, it can lead to teasing, and it can be really hurtful, and it can make it worse. And I get the fears. But the reason why assessments and being diagnosed are so important, um, it's so important because when you know what's going on with you, you can get the proper help. That means therapy, that means learning the right coping skills, the right techniques that work for you, because it doesn't go away. It's not an illness that suddenly you get better from, like a physical illness. It is something you learn to live with on a daily basis.
And if you're ever worried about someone you know, just keep open communication with them. Talk to them. That's probably the best advice I can give, to check in with your other friends.
It's frustrating because I can see what they're going through, but I can't understand it, and I don't know what their mentality is or what's going on in their lives or in their mind. And all I can do is be there for them, but I can't make anything better or change it, even though I would like to. It's just not something anyone can really control. It's something they have to go through alone, and that's really crappy, but that's just the way it works.
All I could really say advice-wise for people who are trying to learn more about depression, who have friends that are depressed, family members, spouses, partners, people with depression, speaking personally, don't typically seem to be the people who have it. When I was younger, was really loud and outgoing, and as I got older, I got quieter and quieter, and I think maybe if somebody would have taken notice then, I wouldn't have gotten to such extremes as I did. And for people who do have friends that are depressed and do have people in their lives that are depressed, if that person suddenly becomes happy, if they suddenly start wanting to hang out all the time, I think that's probably the most important time for you to tell them that you love them and ask if they're okay. I think a lot of people get confused when things like that happen with depressed people. They think, oh my god, this person's cured, but it could actually be a really big warning sign as to somebody is preparing to take their life.
You're just always on that constant worry about them. You know, it's just, you just want to make sure they're okay, and you go out of your way just to make sure you're okay, even if you're not. Make sure they're okay. And it's harder when the people that are suffering through that is your support system. And it's just hard. Hold on.
I want to thank everybody that was a part of this video. Even though my parents decided to not be a part of this, I know that they love me very much. I know that they support me full-heartedly. I know it is a very difficult topic for them to talk about. I know that it's harder for them than it even is for me. I know. They blame themselves a lot for the way I feel, and I don't think they should do that. No one should do that. It's not anyone's fault, including my own. I was just born this way. I will have to deal with it for the rest of my life, but being alive for 23 years, and especially being alive 6 or 7 years longer than what you thought you really were going to live,